going to Mike Neumeyer music for now, and then I'd say just blast it everywhere. And
Oh, is that like a page? That's your page?
that's the page. It was the easiest one.
Music. Okay.
Yeah, Tony, do you want to share it to Vibes Workshop?
Yeah, that's what I thought I would do, just because I'm sure lots of people will want to,
Yeah,
you know,
I'm gonna just share it personally.
check it out. Buy. Okay, wait. Okay, I'm
Well, he's
halfway
got to
there.
get me on there. We'll get me on there, but well,
Oh,
it
there you are.
says it says live. You're seeing it.
Mm-hmm.
Welcome, Justin Vibes, to the coffee hang.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. I wanted to actually introduce because I look around the internet and I see evolution of vibraphone. I see the stuff that's really got a lot of views, but then I'm also reading, and I learned this a little from an interview you had with Drew Tucker, some co-writing stuff. So I'm going to read your bio off of Marimba One,
Okay.
and then basically we could launch right into whatever discussion happens. But
Okay.
here's the foundation. Multi-platinum songwriter and producer, singer and vibraphonist Justin Vibes has paved out a lane in the music industry that some may find intriguing. The Baltimore-born Trinidadian musician found success in Los Angeles writing songs for Eminem, Chris Brown, DaBaby, and Kodak Black, just to only name a few, while touring the world performing on big stages such as Coachella, Lollapalooza, etc., with alternative pop duo Capital Cities. His instrument of choice, the vibraphone, is a rarely seen in the mainstream music scene. Justin is using this instrument on hit records and big stages with no hesitation, garnering millions of views on social media and showcasing the instrument along with his singing and songwriting skills in all of his original music. So, boom.
That's very cool.
Thank
And I
you.
think, go ahead, Tony.
Okay, so like I'm parsing all that because I know you, of course, because you pop up everywhere and you do some cool stuff. I love the fact that you're the you have the vibraphone in all these different places that it wouldn't be without you. So like that's great. Anybody, if somebody sticks it in a bluegrass band, I think that's amazing because our instrument is only, it's in jazz clubs, which is cool. But then somebody comes along like you, and it's you bring it out to a bunch of other people, and so that makes me curious to get to know you and hear like what your background is, like what is your thing? I mean, besides spreading the instrument, I don't know if that's intentional or you're like, I play the vibes. I'm good at social media. I want to make money. Here I go. Everybody, million hits. Cool, 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 cool. Let me put this out, which I think is great. But is there more? Is there other stuff to you that we should know about?
Yeah, well, first and foremost, Tony, you probably don't even. I
Oh
actually,
no, I do remember. Did you take a lesson off me?
yep,
You came with your mom.
yep.
Holy,
I
that's
was just gonna
you.
say that. Yeah,
Holy
I was just
shit.
gonna say, yeah, it was years ago. I mean, I was at Baltimore School for the Arts.
Okay, well that's good because I just see you doing a specific thing, and I was wondering, just because I play the instrument, I was wondering, can he play? Can he do this? And as you were just talking, I was like, oh shit, he's that. He came to my. He came. You came to
I
University
came
of
to
the
your arts.
Arts.
Yep.
Yeah, and you played your ass off.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, that very cool. Very cool for me. Very cool. Good.
Thank you. Thank
That's
you.
you.
Yeah, so yeah, I'll just start from the beginning.
Yes, please.
Um, so I go by Justin Vibes. I was born in Baltimore, Maryland. I went to Baltimore School for the Arts, and at that time, I was thinking of different colleges to go to. So Baltimore School for the Arts is a school that focuses primarily on the arts, regarding music, theater, visual arts, and dance. And every musician there had to learn classical and jazz. It was primarily classical, but I was already learning jazz before that. I learned to read music there. And I was considering 4 colleges. One of them was UArts. And my mom, took me to UArts, and I met Tony Maselli there. And believe it or not, a lot of the videos I play, I have your mallets. I'm playing with your mallets.
I just saw them because I switched. I switched to Malletech, and I was like, oh my god, like
Yeah.
I'd probably be making money off your success if I was still selling the mallet. I mean, I'll take your scraps. That's okay.
Yeah, and yeah, no, they just feel great. But yeah, so I ended up going to college in Chicago. They it was really like an opportunity to just kind of get away from home and just see the world. I mean, I guess see Chicago really. And I went to DePaul University. I got my jazz studies bachelor's degree out in Chicago. And then I was actually also doing a lot of songwriting and production. And so I was kind of like in the midst of either going to Atlanta and doing some like R&B production, or staying in Chicago and just like maybe make it happen from there. And I actually stayed in Chicago and just did the jazz scene out there. I even thought about going to New York, doing the jazz scene in New York, but New York is a beast. And so yeah, I stayed in Chicago, and then it got too cold for me, so I came to LA, and that's where I'm at now. So it's like 9 a.m. here, and
Yeah.
yeah, I also, got to a point where, it was either I was like teeter tottering between like doing the jazz thing and then doing the pop thing, or doing the hip hop, or whatever it is regarding songwriting. And I was trying to figure out a way, how can I blend the two together? So coming to LA, I realized that there wasn't any pigeonholing, pretty much. Like if you weren't, doing the jazz thing, you wouldn't be, pigeonholed, like, oh, well, he doesn't play changes anymore, so we don't call him for gigs. That's what I realized that I was able to do out here in LA, where I could be playing a Latin gig or be playing a pop gig, and no one would be like, oh, well, you don't do this anymore, so you aren't with us, or whatever. And so it was more so like, oh, you played that gig, cool, how was that? Cool, you want to play a jazz gig today? It's like, all right. And that was very eye-opening for me. I felt like I could, transition into the pop world very easily out here. And this is not to say anything bad about Chicago. Like in Chicago, I felt like I was I'd done everything. Like I've tried every avenue. I'm one to always try as much things as possible. So I did like everything I'm doing out here, I did in Chicago. It's just that Chicago is really huge for blues and jazz, and so the things I'm doing now just didn't see the light of day in Chicago. So yeah, and so I got the opportunity to tour with a pop band in capital cities. That was really cool. The thing is, that band is actually like an alternative, like their music's like alternative 70s disco. So they actually embraced my jazz improvisation for their live set. So it was actually me and another jazz trumpet player who were the only jazz musicians in a rock alternative band. So we would take some 8-bar solos, 16-bar solos, and it was pretty fun. That lasted for 3 years, and the pandemic hit, and then songwriting kind of kicked in. I'm kind of speeding through. Yeah, I just knew that there was something like, hey, I still want to like I can play other things. Why not just like try this social media thing? Like this seems like the most like accessible avenue to reach the people that I would want to reach. And that started in 2019, and it's been going ever since. So,
well I tell you, because you remind me now, when I first heard Roy Ayers, I heard him like in the 80s,
yeah.
and I just saw him doing one thing, and it was cool, but I never knew him because I had pigeonholed him. I thought, okay, he's doing that thing. And then in the 90s or whenever, I said something stupid, which I say a lot of stupid things about Roy Ayers, and my buddy said, "Oh, you know nothing about Roy Ayers." And then I went backwards, and I just I heard another Bobby Hutcherson.
Yep.
You know, he was badass. So it's kind of cool to see you making what I see as some of those same decisions that and I get it. Whether it's for music or for money or for all those things, it's one thing to go play in jazz clubs in Chicago and make $75, which is cool. I mean, that's my life. But it's another thing to think I want to reach more people. I want more opportunities, and it sounds like you, unless I got it wrong.
Yeah. I also pigeonholed Roy Ayers when I was young too. I was like, oh, that's whatever, like he doesn't get the recognition from the jazz world as he should, and he has so many jazz records. And I don't know what his reason was for branching out, but I mean, he's like one of the most sampled artists in the world just from his band that he created, the Ramp Band. And so, I think, so for me personally, I didn't grow up listening to jazz. I grew up studying it. And so I grew up in the hip hop era, like listening to, A Tribe Called Quest and all of that. And I, being in the inner city environment in Baltimore, that's just what I was around. But I was also fortunate to have access to study jazz and to learn it and to learn classical music and to learn scales and learn everything I need to learn, like anything that a percussionist needed to learn, I was fortunate to learn. But it wasn't the first thing I grew up listening to. Like my mom is from Trinidad, so she would always play like a lot of Caribbean music. So it was like all these different experiences are just like musical taste, I was also just like one to like not like just listen to one thing, I'm like, well, even if I don't like it, I'm gonna try to find something from it that I can learn. So I just kind of always kept that open mind. And and I've always, I think, just had a desire to wanting to do pop music with the instrument. I mean, the instrument sounds great in any genre. So and it's something that I noticed that like, as I kept playing these jazz gigs, doing the Andes and the Green Mill and Jazz Showcase, which are all venues in Chicago, and touring with certain bands in the Midwest, like I realized that like a part of me was still not really being fulfilled. So it wasn't just like for the opportunities, but also just for fulfillment, just like every now and then I don't mind playing, a pop song on the vibraphone, every now and then I don't mind playing, 3 chords. It doesn't always have to be giant steps. It don't always have to be something so difficult. So it's I think it's a little bit of both: fulfillment, opportunities. It's not really just one reason, I think, but yeah.
Do you mind if I play a clip of the Capital Cities duo with a little solo from you?
Sure.
Let's check out what are we really talking about here, right?
All right.
So what I figured, I was looking at something else. So I think I'm just gonna jump because you do a solo right at the end here. Let's check out a little bit of this.
Share it. Oh, did you share it?
Yeah, I'm sharing. You can hear it?
I can hear it. Yeah, I can hear it. I thought there was video, but maybe I don't have the right screen.
It was working. It was working.
All right, sorry.
All right, here, I'm going to press play. Is it all good?
It's kind of like jumping back and forth on my end.
Yeah, sometimes the audio has a hard time syncing with the video, but we'll get the gist.
Yeah, here we go.
Great.
Yeah, and it's like
Did you
on
ever
one.
send this? Did Mario ever
That's like a
see this?
mini cat.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Sorry.
Well, I was just giving him props because that was on 2 octaves. Am I right, Justin?
It was definitely hard.
Why'd you just bring 2 octaves? You're fine with 2 octaves?
No, that's just what I bought at the time. Yeah, I didn't have the extender octave at the time. So now I have a mallet station, so that won't be an issue.
Ah, ah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hey, I want to jump in here real quick. Hey, Justin, this is Tom Brown. I'm also out here on the West Coast,
All
and
right. Hey, nice to meet
hey,
you.
it's nice to meet you too. I want to talk about like my experience knowing, being familiar with you as an artist, which is kind of the opposite of Tony's, which is, I first heard your music as playing with like Marquise Hill and Micaiah McCraven, and when I was just starting to get into the vibraphone and check stuff out online, and so I'm gonna actually drop a clip in the chat. We don't have to watch it right now, but I just encourage people to go check this out on their own. This is Justin Thomas with Marquise Hill Black Tet. This is a video from 7 years ago, and this was one of the videos that I remember first seeing, and was a really like cogent example of like, here's somebody just tearing it up on the instrument, and I was like, wow, I'd never really seen that before. Like that's inspiring. I want to go in that direction, and I was fortunate to then have some of those opportunities on my own. But it's curious to now see what you're doing today, and so that's why I said it's kind of the opposite of Tony's experience. Like he's just now seeing the stuff you're doing on social media, wondering, hey, is there anything else? I only know you as this just super insane, vibraphone player, and seeing now, oh, he's taken to social media and is blowing up over there too. Which I was wondering if you could give some perspective to that from your end, and also talk about Marquise Hill, Micaiah McCraven, and that scene and what you're doing. You just sort of said, oh, I went to Chicago and I played some jazz, and I kind of wanted to jump in and be like, actually, it was some pretty hip shit. Can we talk about it?
Yeah, no, thanks. Yeah. So yeah, I actually still talk to Marquise here and there. He's killing it, doing his thing. Same thing with Micaiah, I still talk to them. So funny thing is, Marquise and I went to DePaul together. I was going there. So I went there for 4 years, and then I went back to get my teacher certificate. And I was thinking, oh, maybe I'll just do some teaching. I mean, it seems like that's what all the jazz musicians are doing. They tour and then they teach and tour. And I'm like, all right, I'll just do that, And Marquise was actually going for his master's. And so we played in the DePaul big band there together. And yeah, we he started to call me for some of his gigs. So if people don't know who Marquise is, Marquise Hill is a trumpet player from Chicago who has a beautiful sound on the instrument. I mean, probably one of the warmest sounds I've ever heard, just as a jazz trumpet player. And he's loved by all the trumpet players. Every trumpet player in the world loves him. I mean, from Wynton Marsalis to everybody. So he's like the trumpet, I don't know, king. I don't know if he's a king, but he's like the trumpet golden child, let's just say that. Yeah, I played with Marquise for like 5 years in the Black Tet, which is the name of his group. Marquise writes these very like interesting like compositions that like have this like European and soulful aesthetic all at the same time. And it's not super complicated. It's, he's always been about like, let it sound colorful, but let it have a hook. And it's some of the most beautiful writing I've heard.
Yeah, everyone do yourself a favor and go check out those Black Tat albums. They're
incredible. Yeah, but the cool thing about that group was that I was the only harmonic instrument in that group. So you didn't have piano, you didn't have guitar. I was the pianist, but on vibes. So you're talking about just playing 4-chord voicings, and filling it up as much as possible, and the thing is always staying away from the 1 and the 5 because the bass is handling that. But just like playing like some 13 chords, like in ways that like, you're just like stretching your fingers as much as possible with the 4 mallets. And the cool thing is that Marquise plays with a saxophone player, so they're playing two-note voicing. So it's like this really cool, like harmonic thing that's happening. I really learned a lot about just voicings in that group, like how to voice things. I listened to a lot of Kenny Kirkland for like filling up the sound, you know, like I just like listened to his albums, like literally up and down, like transcribing the album, just like, all right, well, he's playing all these notes. How can I at least play like 4 of these that's going to give me that sound and at the same time like sound full enough, with a vibraphone. I mean, it's not going to sound as full because the harmonic just like the harmonic structure of a vibraphone isn't as thick of as a piano. But I was really just thankful that he trusted me to just occupy that space. Wherein Micaiah McCraven's band's a little bit different. Micaiah he calls himself the beat scientist. So you're looking at more like hip hop loops, sampling it. That funny thing is the first album we did was literally just an improvisation of us playing every Wednesday night in Chicago. He recorded it and he would just chop it up in beats. And so there was really no structure for the composition. It was just like, hey, let's just play something and just see what happens. And he made an album out of it. And that was really cool because we just literally had to listen to each other, as much as possible. And I mean, Makai and I had so many conversations going back and forth about like how to listen better in like free improvisation, which is like probably the most absurd conversation because it's all free. But we would go back and forth about it. And I was like, you know what, there's really no point in this. Like we're just playing, just to have fun. But it became an album that allowed Micaiah's band and me being a part of that band for us to travel to Europe and do a tour. And so actually that album, I saw Tony's question, that album is called In the Moment by Micaiah McCraven. And you'll see that in both of these bands, I actually go by a different name, and that name is Just a Fan. Just a Fan was my producer name for my hip hop life.
That's about that too. So I'm glad you're going into that.
Yeah, so I went by Just a Fan then, and that really just came from my producer name. And I was like, you know what, why don't I just do it in the jazz thing and see how it sticks? And so it wasn't really like like an intentional thing for the jazz thing, but really Just a Fan is just meaning I'm just a fan of music. That's all it really stands for. So, and I was just trying to spell it fun and cool, and people thought it was like my actual name. And
yeah, there's like a lot like Just a Fane kind of with the Y. That's how I had pronounced it forever. Just a Fane.
Yeah, it just means I'm just a fan of music. That's all it is. Oh, okay. So you'll see that like my name won't say Justin Vibes on these albums. It might say Justin Just a Fan Thomas, or it just might say Just a Fan. So, but it was really for me, I felt like it was an oven. I look at that time in Chicago as an oven for me, where I really reflected a lot, which I can't, really say that's the experience for many musicians in other parts of the States, but or different states in the US. But in Chicago, it's like a very grounded city. A lot of people love to be from Chicago, live in Chicago. Me, I'm like, well, I'm not from Chicago, so I'm thinking about skedaddling pretty soon, but I learned a lot about myself in Chicago. And I remember playing with this piano player named Ryan Cohen, who plays with Joe Locke. And maybe, I don't know if anyone knows Ryan Cohen, but he plays with Joe Locke a lot. Vibraphonist Joe Locke is ridiculous. I transcribe all his stuff too. And he just said like, hey man, like, what are you doing in Chicago? And I was like, I don't know. Like, I'm just playing and, trying to make it happen, like, he's like, yeah, but Chicago, and he's from Chicago. He's like, yeah, but Chicago's not the place to do it. And I was like, well, I'm hearing all these musicians that are doing it from Chicago. Marquise is doing it from Chicago. Makai is doing it from Chicago. And he was just kind of, he was kind of like the musician that really sat down and talked to me. And I mean, I played gigs with him too. But he's just like, hey man, like, don't you want to be in New York? Like, that's where all the cats are. Like, don't you want to be like Stephon Harris? I was like, no, I don't want to be like Stephon Harris. I want to be like me. And he was like, well, if you don't want to be like Stephon Harris, then who are you? You know, and it was, I mean, it wasn't like that question was like the start of that thought process. It just kind of was the cherry on top for me. It's just like, you know what, like I'm doing all this stuff, like playing a bunch of gigs in Chicago, playing a bunch of stuff, like just, I just kind of felt like I was running around headless, like playing a lot of Latin gigs, playing some classical gigs, doing it all and not really having a direction. Um, and I just kind of felt like I needed to think about that a lot more. And funny thing is, I got an opportunity to play in LA with Marquise, and that was my first time in LA. And I was like, man, I like it out here. And but then I was still thinking about moving to New York, so I was kind of going back and forth, like, man, like my family's in New York. I got like close relatives in New York, so I could go there. But then I don't really know anyone in LA. Which one, should I do? And I remember talking to my uncle when I visited him in New York. He was like, look, maybe God is calling you to do it, LA, you might be missing your blessing if you come to New York. And I'm like, but, because I'm very familiar with New York, like my family would travel to New York plenty of times. I've seen, some great acts, going to Fat Cat and Smalls and all of that. So it's like, I've seen all of that. I've, played my band even played at Fat Cat like one time. So it's just like, I didn't really know, like I just had kind of lived this like double life, like jazz musician. Most musicians know I'm a jazz musician. And then you got these songwriters and artists who know me as a producer. They don't even know I play the vibraphone, and so I just figured like, all right, well, let me just try LA and just see what happens and try it all. Like I didn't really discriminate. It's just like, hey, I'm just going to try everything. So actually, when I first moved out here, I was still playing jazz gigs, and but I had also met Capital City. So how I met Capital Cities was in Chicago. They came to a jazz gig that I had in Chicago, and I, started playing with the musicians. And then when I moved to LA, they're like, hey, like, would you be down to tour with us? I got asked to do 3 tours: Marquise's tour, Ghost Note, Sputz Group, and Capital Cities at the same time. And that was a really hard decision. Then I saw the checks of each of them. I was like, okay, I know where I'm going. So LA is expensive. And it's like, at some point, I'm like, I'm still getting to play jazz with this pop band. Like, why not? Like, I'm playing synths and playing, but I'm still getting to improvise. So at that point, it was like, yeah, let me just see what that's like. I'm touring like South America with this band, so, and then from there, I was like, all right, let me, go back and play some jazz in LA. And, there was really no it was like I've written out a plan, and I was like, I'll just try it. It was really just it was more like process of elimination. And it was just like, I can't really say there was like one thing, but the one thing I can say is I, was feeling a little burnt out, playing a lot of notes and playing all these like intricate, like time signatures, and not understanding why I'm doing it, and for example, like I'd play, just as an example, like I play a song that, someone would write, let's just say a local musician would write, something in like 15/4. And I'm like, all right, cool. We're doing this in 15/4. Here we go, and the name of the song might be like, I don't know, Slippers. And I'm like, all right, we're playing a song called Slippers in 15/4, and then I can't tell you how many times I've seen music like that on my music stand. And I'm like, I like it's cool, it's challenging, but I didn't really understand the point of it, you know. And I get it, it might relate to the composer, you know, like, but I think like jazz still has to have some type of element of feel. And I think it's gotten so cerebral, which is great. It's great to be challenged, but at least the circles I was in, I was being challenged cerebrally and not soulfully. And I wasn't really feeling led to dance, you know, or like just like bop my head, you know, like maybe for small moments. And then I have to bop my head on another meter and, you know, hop back on to the 15 or whatever it is. So it was just, you know, I felt like I was kind of getting too much of that and not a balance of like I just want to play like something in 4/4, you know, like let me just do something in 4/4, like. And so yeah, so it was just like I think a pull of just like different energy, like let me just mix it up a little bit. And uh yeah, the goal was to do it all, and then social media took over with, you know, these simple, you know, like easy covers, which I'm thankful to do, you know, like
The process
um
there too for that stuff. I mean, that's not just, I actually wanted to follow up on that too, because that is a shed in and of itself.
it is.
Like that stuff that you do. I've seen some of those behind the scenes clips. That's 20, 30,
Right,
40,
like
50 takes.
Yeah, it's I read a lot of books out here learning like how to market yourself, how to like so another reason I moved to LA was like just learning the music business. Like I'm a songwriter with Warner Chappell, so I just learning the publishing industry, like how that works. Um, you know, and the funny thing is I mean, you probably see a lot of videos of me on social media like playing some of the same things, but I also have like many videos that I did not put out where like I would record covers. I would get the angle wrong, the camera angle wrong. I would, you know, the vibraphone would be too loud, or maybe my facial expression would not match the videos.
You're never
And
looking at the instrument too, man. I mean, that's another thing. I tried doing that the other night, and I was like, this is fucking hard.
yeah, trying videos to not look at the instrument and just look straight at the camera. Like
Yeah, and just smile,
there's
and you just look good, and that's a whole like aesthetic to curate, and that takes hard work,
it
man.
took a lot of years of like recording it and like trying it and posting it. Honestly, like I've posted it and just seeing like, wait a second, like something's not right about this, you know. Just because I saw that social media was a, you know, like an opportunity to just try something. I would post a lot of jazz videos on social media. I posted a lot of like different vibraphone angles, just seeing like what worked. But yeah, it's a shed within itself because it's all like, I mean, it's all like just focusing on your body, on your breathing, on like, you know, like I mean, I get so many hate comments of like, man, he doesn't even use the pedal. Like if you use the pedal on a camera, all you hear is
I
sustained
thought
like
that today.
distortion.
I thought that. I was watching some of your videos and I said, he doesn't even use the freaking pedal.
Yeah, it's because it distorts. Like
Yeah,
if you record on an iPhone, or I record everything on my phone. So um it distorts like crazy. It's all mid-range.
way
It's
too
all like
like
it's like I try to stay away from things that sustain. I did do a project that's supposed to come out in a couple of weeks where it's just like nothing but sustain, but I had to like record it with my actual studio mics and like place them over the vibraphone and do an overhead setup and whatnot so it can be for social media. I even sent it to an engineer. He's like, man, it sounds great on a laptop, sounds great in my stereo, sounds great on my monitors. And I'm like, did you play it on the phone yet? And he played on the phone. He's like, man, it's so distorted. Like the vibraphone, like doesn't matter what vibraphone, just for some reason on the phone it distorts. So I stay away from sustain anything.
Wow.
It is such a weird like frequency to
yeah.
like have to like focus on. But yeah, on the phone, it just wrecks havoc for some reason. So
That's
um
what mastering is all about. Mastering. That's what that phase of the whole production thing is about.
yeah, it's yeah, it's so I mean, it's definitely like a thing to like try to master social media and get the vibraphone to sound good and to yeah, like really play for the audience. And really play for metrics and play for it's a different thing. I've had countless of videos where I just played nothing but jazz videos, like jazz solos. And so like this is just really like, I guess you would say it's just kind of like the next step in what I did do. And which was, I mean, I don't know if you followed me on social media, Tom, but I posted a lot of videos of Marquise and Micaiah, just me soloing or playing the sound or playing the song. And yeah, and I mean, it would get, great feedback, like, but yeah, it was, so yeah, it's a, like you said, it's a thing within itself um, to even post for social media.
Thank you for taking the time to elaborate on it, because I'm sure I wasn't the only one here who was kind of curious about that. Just like Mike had you just elaborate at the top, on your journey and stuff, but kind of getting into the weeds there of what does that actually look like? What is the day to day for some of that kind of stuff? So
Yeah, yeah,
I'm sure some other people have questions too.
yeah, sure.
Yeah, Michael, you're unmuted. Are you looking to ask a question?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm just I just joined. I saw Tom put something on Facebook, and I thought this was supposed to be tomorrow, so I'm joining late. So I don't have anything to say now, but I'm glad to be here. Thank you for joining us today, Justin.
Thank you for being here, Michael.
Mike Benedict, One Vibe artist.
Yeah, we got a lot of One Vibe in the room.
I've had lots of discussions. It's interesting because I play in some of the bands and the odd time stuff, and it's really challenging and cool music. But when we're sitting at the table and talking about it, I'm always saying, yeah, but who out there knows what we're doing and who out there likes what we're doing? Like all these people in the audience, I wonder how many really like what we're doing. And I would think of my dad sitting out in the audience, and I would think he loves music, but he would hate this. He'd be like, "What the hell are you guys doing?" So, and I like playing challenging music. I'd never wanted to do. I just wanted to play the instrument. So, but I think I've thought the things you thought of, and when I learned about Roy Ayers, in fact, it was Randy who called me out about Roy Ayers at one point. And when I learned about him and put it together, I thought, I totally get it. Why does why he didn't want to play in front of, make a live CD with 45 people in the audience and do it. He wanted to reach more people, and to hear you talk, those problems are our problems, and everybody solves them in different ways, and you solve them in a way that probably some musicians would get upset about or say you sold out or this, but like it's not that at all. Even nothing to do with you, so don't correlate it. But somebody was trashing Kenny G the other night. Once again, like that's been my whole life, and it's like what would you do for $7 million? Think of all the disgusting things you would do for $7 million, and this guy's out there playing for thousands of people, and his music's cool.
He's
No
in on the
one's going to
joke.
transcribe his solos, but my dad's going to buy his CD. Well, he's not going to buy it now; he's gone. But so I like seeing how you answer the same problems that we all have. And some guys answer it by saying, "Screw the audience. This is great music, and I'm going to do it." That's cool, also, right? So it's really great. I'm glad you're here talking about what you're talking about, and I'm glad we're connected in that way.
Yeah,
It
definitely.
freaks me out, and it just happened when you were going to say it. It was like, I know this guy.
Yeah, it's
So,
I was one of those guys too. Like, well, I ain't about to sell out. I ain't about to do this. I ain't about to be playing. Because that's what I was around. I was always around that. So I'm like, well, this is the way I need to be. And yeah, at some point, I'm like, well, I'm doing all of this. Like, I'm lifting up the vibraphone in the snow and this and that, and playing these gigs and playing all these, Andy's. I played Andy's every Monday night for like 3 years in Chicago, and that was like 9 p.m. to 1 a.m. That was with this drummer named Dana Hall, who's amazing. He's actually now the jazz director at DePaul, and he played with Terrell Stafford a lot. And that band was actually amazing. It was fun to play. That was also another band where I was the only harmonic instrument. And but it was just the timing, just like, man, doing this every Monday night, like, okay, I guess this is the life, like this is. Then I got another gig on Tuesday, playing 2 gigs that day, and then another gig on Wednesday, and it's just a lot to be carrying a vibraphone, like playing every day of the week, and that being the only source of income. I even worked Guitar Center, just to have a stable job. I did teaching in Chicago. I taught at DePaul, the school I went to. I taught at Chicago High School for the Arts. I taught, and these are all part-time, doing all of that while playing these jazz gigs. And sometimes I'm just like, I go to this rehearsal and it's like, man, this music like has nothing to do with nothing. It's just 15-4, 25-9, and it's cool. Like it's challenging. It's stuff I've never done before. But yeah, it's like, well, what is the like you said, like, is the audience going to like this? I mean, doesn't mean that you always have to play for the audience, but like, is what we're doing, like, do the musicians even like it? Are we just playing it just to play, just to say like, hey, we're playing with this musician because it's an opportunity to play with the musician? And I have to start to really think about like valuing my time. Like, man, like I'm like breaking down my body every night to play these songs. What value am I getting from it? Like I don't know. And when I started to have those thoughts, I realized that, okay, this ain't really the place I need to be if I'm having these thoughts, because I'm now starting to disrespect the people who actually do value this, like, and who actually do have a love for, this lifestyle or this type of music. So, and I was like, nah, I can't continue to be this way, So I realized that, like, I had to make a decision and really like kind of focus on what is it that Justin wanted to do. Like, it's cool that I can do all of these things, but what is it that I want to do? And I think it's I start to look at things. So the thing I like to do is not think either or, because I think that's what happens. We get trapped in thinking either or. It's either you're the jazz cat or you're the sellout. It's either you're the, I mean, I've seen it in the classical world. It's like, if you're not first chair, you're not good. And it's like, it doesn't make any sense. It's kind of like an egotistical approach on music and the community. And it just doesn't really bring any harmony to it. So I just was like, well, I'm not really one to, like, I mean, you even got classical musicians like, well, I don't play jazz because that's, it's not like prestigious like classical music is. And you got, jazz musicians like, hey, classical is cool, like it was just too much divide for me, like, for me to be able to perform like at a comfortable pace. Like, it's like, if that's how it operates, that's fine. But I'm a person who listens to everything and will embrace everything. So why not just figure out what I'm going to do and, see how I can, figure out my path. So, I mean, it was literally process of elimination, trying everything and just see what worked. Like, the forefront of that was like, is this fulfilling my happiness? That's the thing I will not compromise, is my happiness. And I think that's for anybody. If your thing is 15-4, it doesn't mean that you should stop doing it because I don't do it, like, but that's your thing, go with it, like, as long as it, connects with the musicians that you're playing with, it connects with you and it connects with your audience. I think it's a beautiful thing. I mean, there's always going to be that beautiful writing that you won't, hear in 4/4 that has to be in those time signatures. And I mean, you hear it all the time in movies. You hear it all the time, in just like small groups, percussion groups, that is just like, hey, like, this is a thing of itself that needs to exist in this space for the reason that it exists. So yeah, I totally agree, Tony, that like, it's not really an either or. It's just like, you like apples or you like oranges, like, so yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I think that if you ever want to move, you really should consider Philadelphia again, because we got a guy here back in the day named, and his name was Vince Montana. And
Okay.
You're like the new Vince Montana.
Okay, I'm gonna check him out.
You'd like him.
Everybody likes him.
Okay.
The classical cats dug him. He would play with the orchestra from time to time. He was the king of disco. He had the South Soul Orchestra, all those disco hits in the 70s. And there's not a jazz musician in town that didn't respect him.
Wow.
He
Vince
played his
Montana.
ass off. Yeah,
He played his ass off. He sure did.
That's a cool name too, Vince Montana. Kind of like Joe Montana from football, but Vince Montana, that's cool. Okay, and he has music out that I can check out online.
He's everywhere.
I'm gonna check him out. I don't know.
Check out the South Soul Orchestra.
Okay,
you'll recognize all the disco hits. I mean, you know. And
he was a serious. Yeah, he was the cat. Yeah.
Okay. That's good to know. Thank you.
Well, and you're a good example. It's just like you're not elitist. You're not pretentious. You know, you embrace everything. And I know for a fact from that one lesson, because I immediately went downstairs to the 4th floor, said, this guy's amazing. You have to get him to come to this school. So you're an incredible musician. You know, you have amazing ears. So, you know, for you to make your choices, you just make your choices. Who cares what anybody has to say? Because you can do it. And not that everybody has to be able to do it to make their choices. But it's interesting that you can get up there and play your ass off. Now that I, put 2 and 2 together, and I can imagine what I'm going to listen to later today when I pull these CDs up. But you can do it. And that was the thing that Randy taught me about Roy Ayers. Like, well, who am I to judge Roy Ayers and think this or this about him? Because I go back and listen. It's like, oh, he would run circles around me, and I'm judging his life. So it's kind of cool. This is a interesting hour for me.
Oh no, thanks. This is great to just be amongst other vibraphonists and just talk. Like I said, I did the same thing. I got a Roy Ayers cassette tape, and I was like, I ain't listening to this. He's not one of the cats, And then I got older. I'm like, man, why don't know? And no one talks about Roy Ayers, and I did the same thing. I listened to his music. I'm like, okay, yeah, this sounds great. This acid jazz, this is cool. And then I went back. I'm like, wait a second. He's been playing like all this like bebop stuff, and I'm just like, what the heck? No one's talking about this. It's like this huge catalog. And I just went back down, just listening to everything. I was like, wow, like this dude has done so much, And so I totally feel you. Like it's definitely, I think, especially now with social media, I mean, there's so many like different like avenues where people are taking the instrument. It's really cool to see, like it's really cool to see like just the different like creative musicians behind the instrument. So it's really cool. I'm inspired by a lot of what I see on social media too. So
well, I know I have like a ton more questions, and maybe this was like kind of like last call for questions. I want to point people towards your educational based material. You just released a new YouTube channel, right?
Actually, it's not new. It's actually been it's been it's been around just as long as my TikTok and my Instagram. It just started to blow up recently.
Boom. So educational, what is that one called? Justin Vibes Tips?
Yeah. Which is funny. I've been thinking about it lately. I have not been able to post any more educational videos recently, but they're filmed. They're already filmed. I just have to edit them. So
right. No kidding, right? My last question is, what is your goal with the vibraphone?
My goal with the vibraphone. So my goal with the vibraphone is really I feel like I've kind of reached it just through social media, was to reach, more people, the mainstream audience, like whatever that looked like. It didn't have to just be pop music. It could have been movies. It could have been TV shows. What I found was that, people wanted to hear more songs. So, I mean, I'll just even share like how social media kind of became a thing. So I'm like, all right, you know what? I've been trying all these videos on Instagram, whatever. I'm like, maybe I need to try another platform. I tried TikTok. I was like, okay, cool. So I was like, you know what? Let me write down a plan. I'm going to do Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube and post the same videos on all 3 platforms. by this time I had tried everything. I've tried like, I mean, like anything you could think of, like on social media to like get my presence out there. Um, and I was like, all right, let me just try these 3 platforms. So I posted all the same cover videos on all 3 platforms. And I noticed that TikTok took off the fastest. I was getting a quicker response, but I didn't believe it because I thought it was just like spam accounts or something or fake accounts. I'm like, no, this can't be real. Like I've never seen this type of growth before. This is October 2019, and I knew it was real when an older lady asked me, "Hey, play a Journey song." I was like, "Oh, really? On TikTok? Like, there's older people on TikTok?" And she's like, "Yeah, can you do a cover of a Journey song?" I said, "No problem, I'll do it." Like on Instagram, I was getting the same people liking and commenting my videos, and it was just you just kind of get gridlocked into your followers. And so I knew it was real when someone asked me this. So I did a Journey song. I mean, it didn't perform well or anything, but I was just happy to do it because like, man, this is something new. And I mean, like I don't play Journey, like, I mean, I've listened to Journey, but I don't play their music on the vibraphone. And did it, and actually did like a marimba version, so with the Malacat. And she's like, "Thank you so much. I just wanted to do this before, I just wanted to ask this before like you blow up." And I was like, "What are you talking about? Like this, whatever." So I kept posting, and then I realized that song request was the way to like keep going, keep getting crowd engagement. So I just started doing song requests. I did one song request. Someone requested Gravity Falls, which is a Nickelodeon cartoon. At the time, I didn't know what it was, and afterwards, I've watched the show now, just so now my followers don't be mad at me. But I didn't know what it was. So I looked it up, listened to it. I was like, "Oh yeah, I could do this," And I'm like, let me see, how can I create this on the vibraphone? And I kid you not, I posted it. I went to go have lunch with another percussionist. Then we went to the musicians union and we were like meeting up about something. And I just checked my phone and I saw that I had 91,000 followers in like 45 minutes. And I was like, wait a second, what? I was like, nah, this has to be fake. I still downplaying. These are all like fake accounts. It's online. No, this is fake. And then it kept going up, 100,000 new followers just followed. I'm like, no, this cannot be. Like all in one day, like, or not even one day, but like in less than an hour. I was like, no, this like TikTok, this is no, who made this app? I was downplaying it. And then I started seeing people repost my video on other platforms. That's when I knew it was real. I was like, oh, these are real people. Let me keep going. And so I hit 1 million followers in 4 months. And because I just kept doing song requests, I'm like, you know what? I've been around musicians who will not do song requests. Like I'm not taking song requests. Jazz musicians, I've been around pop musicians, singers, songwriters. It's not part of my brand. I'm not doing it. And it's like, well, why not? Like make it your own, like put your voice on it. That's what they're listening for. They're not listening. I mean, if they wanted that particular version of the song, they would just go listen to that song. They're asking you to do your version of it because there's an audience of people who like to hear a different version of a song that they're familiar with. So, but me playing all these jazz musicians, I'm playing all these jazz tunes, playing standard. I mean, that's what we're doing. If we're playing standards, you're playing your version of a cover anyway. But I was open to it. I was like, sure, why not? You want me to do it? No problem. Oh, you want me to do Star Wars? No problem. You want me to do Rugrats? No problem. It's like, why not? And that's what really got me to 1 million followers, was just doing song requests, doing what no one else would do, I guess. And so it just kind of became a snowball of just doing song requests, and literally, like, I forgot why I said all that, because you had a question and I had a point and I don't remember.
That ties in with your goal, your end goal for the
vibraphone. So the goal was to reach the mainstream audience with the vibraphone, and that was just doing song requests, because I had it in my head of what I thought was going to work. So the covers I first posted were like covers that I was like, yeah, this is a great song. I'm just gonna post this. I'm singing while I'm playing the vibraphone. Like they're gonna really like it. It's mixed down well. I mixed it myself. I recorded it myself, and it got like, you know, barely any traction. And I was like, all right, well, I had a plan, but maybe that didn't work. Let me just see what, you know, the people who are following me. And on TikTok, I started with 0 followers. So I didn't have like any like launching pattern. I started with 0 and posted these covers. You know, it would get like 100 views. I'm like, man, that's more than Instagram. I got like 7,000 followers on Instagram at the time. And I'm getting like, you know, 100 views from the same people. This is 100 views with no followers from random people. Hence why I thought it was fake. Yeah. And once I started getting requests, and I was like, you know what? Like, I need to listen to the audience more. You know, like I know what I mean, I know what the vibraphone sounds like, but they want to hear the vibraphone in ways that I've never played before. So I was just like, sure, why not? And I just kind of look at it as a service. So, you know, like really getting the instrument to the mainstream audience and just making people happy with the instrument is really like my goal. The long-term goal is to be able to do it in person. You know, since we've been in the pandemic, you know, like that's also been part of the reason why I haven't performed, but doing it back on those same stages I did with capital cities, but just with my own name and my own music. So that's really the goal, is just getting in front of the audience. And, you know, and since I'm a songwriter and producer, I'm like, well, why not just songwrite and produce the music myself? So yeah, that's really it. There's really, I mean, so I feel like it's kind of partially achieved, you know, like just doing these covers on, you know, online, but it'd be great to do it in person as well. So.
Wow.
Thanks, Justin. I'm glad you told that story. That covered another question about how it felt when it blew up, you know?
Oh yeah, I had my doubts. I was like, nah, it wasn't going anywhere else. So I was like, this just has to be. I did a Willy Wonka cover, the Pure Imagination song. That was probably like, wait, actually, no, let me backtrack. So TikTok is like an app that allows you to use sounds and whatnot. And they had this sound of the iPhone going viral amongst the dog niche. And I was like, oh, I could play this iPhone sound, like, but I didn't actually play it. It was already a sound. I'm like, I'm just gonna limp sync it. Cool. Like, who cares? Right. So then I got all the comments like, oh, this is fake. This is fake. And it only came up that way because that video had 500,000 views. So it was like, oh, now here's everyone, but now they're all saying it's fake. So I'm like, okay. Oh, so you think I can't play? No problem. Tell me what song you want to hear. So then I did Willy Wonka Pure Imagination. That was the first song so on TikTok, your sound can go viral or your videos can go viral. And that was the first sound of mine that went viral, where I had like makeup artists like hitting me like, hey, I used your sound. And I didn't know what they were doing. I'm like, oh, okay, thanks. You know, like and I actually did use the sustain pedal for that one, but they're like, hey, I used your sound for my makeup tutorial. And I was like, oh, okay, thanks. Hey, I used your sound. And you could see like where people are using it in Europe and all this other stuff. I'm like, I don't know what's happening. Like, and I had no idea, but people started reposting it on Instagram and YouTube and it's like, man, check out this, you know, Willy Wonka, you know, like Pure Imagination. And I'm just like, okay, this is real. So that's when I just kept going. So
that's so wonderful.
For you.
Thank you.
That's great.
Any questions from the board of directors? Well, I'm mega inspired, Justin. Oh, Tom?
I just want to say thank you again for your time, Justin. This has been really cool today.
Thank you for coming by. Thank you for having me.
Hopefully we can do it again in a year, kind of check out where you're at.
Yeah, it'd be great.
Yeah. Good. Well, good luck with everything. It's great. Great to see you. I remember your mom, she brought a book. She had your clippings. Is that right? She brought a notebook with stuff. Like your mom was really supportive for you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I remember she sat in on the lesson.
She sat in on the lesson. She did. And it's funny, I hear you talk about your dad. My mom was not a big jazz fan at all. Like she did not. She was like, it's just so boring. Like, can you like play something with some beat in it or something? Like, it's just so slow, Like, she was always, because she's just used to hearing like very like upbeat music, like being from Trinidad. And but she was definitely one to still sit there, even though she wasn't a big fan of the jazz. She became one now because she studied it in college and learned about it. She's like, oh, I get what's happening now. Like, but yeah, she was also one like, yeah, play something for the audience, like, like get some upbeat going, like something with some rhythm. And I'm like, the rhythm is there, it's on 2 and 4. You got to listen to the hi hat. And she's like, what's the hi hat? And you know, but she was there in a lot of those lessons and whatnot. And yeah, she's actually, I'm very thankful she bought me a Musser vibraphone thanks to the recommendation of my teacher in high school. Mm-hmm. So I had lots of time to play it play it at home and just like try everything and just make noise with it. So
it's so cool you remember Tony.
I was telling Mike, I was like, I don't think he's gonna remember me. I went to UArts to like get a lesson from Tony. I doubt he's gonna remember me. Like, and it's fine if he didn't, like, because I'm not doing what I did then. So,
well, I just saw you for an hour, but you made an impression on me, and I just when you started talking, I was like, what? Something kicked in, and when you were about to say it, I thought, oh, I know this guy. So cool.
Thank you.
I'm glad we had a chance. I got all your information, so I'm going to keep following you, see what you're up to.
Thank you. Yeah, definitely. I would love to keep in contact. And yeah, if anyone has any questions, feel free to like message me. Just say, hey, I was on that Vibraphone Coffee House, because I get a lot of spam messages. So I sometimes don't even read my messages because it's just, some of the weirdest things I get in my DMs. But even if you want to email me at justinvibesmusic@gmail.com, I respond back, as soon as I can. So I'm very happy to, chat or share or whatever it is. So, but yeah, this was great. Thank you so much.
Cool.
I know I'm going to play in 15/4 and I'm not going to use the sustain pedal, and you can feel the rhythm. It's on 7 and 13.
There you go. And only play 7 and 13 chords.
Tony, what were you saying? I cut you off there.
Oh, I don't remember.
Maybe just starting to seal up?
Yeah, I think that's just it. Yeah, good. All right, well, I'll be checking you out. I'm glad I was here.
I'm glad to be here as well. Thank you very much. And thank you to everyone who came through.
Yep.
Wonderful. All right. Thanks for your time, Justin. See you later, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Have a good one.
See you, everybody.